In this video, I continue looking at taxes and how they're applied in WP e-commerce. We looked at tax rates. We created a couple here that apply to different parts of one country. There's something else down here called tax bands. Now, a tax band is a generic per product tax. If you remember over here, if we look at one of our products here, you can add a specific tax for this specific product. But let's say you had a group of products. Let's say all plates had a special tax on them. No other products have that, just plates. What you could do is you could go in here and create a tax band, and we're going to call it plates. And let's say it's an extra 2% that's added onto all plates in Canada. And I go in here and I choose Canada, and it's going to apply to all markets. Okay, so I save my changes. So what this does is instead of every plate having to add 2%, you go into your individual plate here, and let's just refresh. And you could say, add this to the tax band called plates. Now, something interesting here, I don't see my band that I created. Now, why would that be? Well, it turns out under here, it explains that tax bands do not take effect when product prices are tax exclusive. In other words, if I'm not including tax in my prices on my catalog, then I can't use these tax bands. Now, I can still use my individual taxable amount. Okay, I just can't use a tax band. So let's switch it here. Let's just quickly switch this over to tax inclusive. We're going to include the tax in the price. Now when I refresh this, you'll see my tax has a tax band. And I drop it down and there would be plates. Now, don't forget, in this particular case, what I just did here actually won't apply to the product because I've got variants. You'd have to go into each of these variants and do exactly the same thing here. Switch it over to plates for your custom tax band. I'm not totally sure how well this would work for anything because it means you've got to have the tax inclusive set already. You've got to make sure your prices include your taxes. And I know a lot of people don't like that on their catalogs. They want to have the price and the tax totally separate from it. So I'd be more inclined to have to do it on a per product basis, get rid of the band and simply enter the amount for this particular product. What's more valuable, I'm finding, with this is this ability to say this product is not taxable. So for example, in Canada, a lot of food products are not taxable. So every time I had a food product, I could check off this box. I mean, if all my products were food, I would tell the shopping cart not to calculate taxes at all. But if I had some taxable, some not, I would just check off this box. And that to me is a far more useful thing. But somebody may be able to use tax bands. So it's there for you to use on a per product basis when you've got many different products using exactly the same tax rate. Now, the one other thing I wanted to comment on with taxes is you can't label your taxes here, which I think is a bit of a problem. When I get to the checkout here, and I know for accounting purposes too, it's good to show what the tax is. And like I said earlier, because you can't do compounding taxes, in Canada, we want to split out our national tax and our local tax, our provincial tax. Again, for accounting purposes, but also for people to be able to see, oh, there's the national tax, there's the provincial tax. But you can't label this. You can't control the labeling through the settings here under these tax rates. The way you can with tax bands, you can assign it a name. You can't do that here. So that's a little bit of a drawback for user friendliness, I think.